Hello everyone. With the viruses preventing Mel Murphy from being here with us today, it is with great pleasure that I will share the European Divorce Alliance's approach to the emotional impact of such a situation and especially its consequences for the company. Divorce is a personal issue with legal separation. For employees, it's an emotional impact. With 45% involving conflict and lasting 26 months, personal and work life are linked. However, for your employees going through this ordeal, it is a profound upheaval, an emotional tsunami. With 45% of divorces marked by conflict situations, sometimes with a lot of violence, and an average duration of 26 months, or even more in the case of litigation, it is impossible today to separate what an employee experiences in his personal life from what he brings to work throughout all his years. To understand this intensity, give it meaning, and especially perspective, the lens of the grieving process, according to Elisabeth Kübler-Ross, is often used. As a reminder, Elisabeth Kübler-Ross was a prominent Swiss-American psychiatrist who was recognized for her pioneering work on grief and end-of-life issues. In the 1970s, she modeled the stages of grief in what has become one of the most famous frameworks for understanding emotional reactions to loss. She identified 5 main stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. To go a bit deeper into the details of these stages, denial is the initial shock where the individual refuses to believe in the reality of the separation. For you, in the company, this could mean that an employee recently faced with this separation situation might continue to act as if everything is fine, avoiding talking about it or facing it. The anger phase is the phase of frustration and injustice that takes over. This can lead to increased tensions at work, conflicts with colleagues, or unusual irritability. In the bargaining phase, we correspond more to an attempt, as its name indicates, to negotiate or find solutions to repair the situation. In divorce, this may include efforts to save the relationship or to find compromises that are not always realistic. The depression phase is a period of intense sadness and loss of energy that will greatly affect your productivity, engagement at work, and is often visible through a drop in performance or increased absenteeism. Acceptance is the phase where the individual begins to integrate the reality of the loss and to envision a different future. This is often where personal reconstruction begins. This model, although initially designed to support the loved ones of people at the end of life, has been widely adopted to explore other types of losses. It applies particularly to situations such as losing a job, the collapse of financial independence, or the emotional challenges related to a separation or divorce. While this grieving mechanism is useful for illustrating part of the experience of someone facing a breakup, it only captures a fraction of the emotional reality. Indeed, the range of emotions felt during a divorce is much broader, including feelings like guilt, anxiety, confusion, frustration, and shame, among others. You understand, this spectrum of emotions is extremely wide and often intertwines, amplifying fears, uncertainties, or the feeling of losing control, thus intensifying the pain of this experience. And I invite you to watch my Sabadre's talk on the main fears related to divorce and their effects on professional life. I also have to tell you that divorce is not limited to just this emotional process. It encompasses dimensions of rebuilding and reorganizing that require active engagement from the person involved. These steps go far beyond just emotions and include practical challenges like managing finances, reorganizing daily family life, and making crucial decisions about one's own future. These aspects, just as crucial as emotions, require a structured and proactive approach to prevent the person from feeling overwhelmed. So, while Elisabeth Kübler-Ross's model provides a valuable framework for understanding certain emotional dynamics, it doesn't fully capture the complexity of the experiences related to a divorce or separation. The downward spiral of emotions, if not managed in a quick and effective manner, can become more complex and potentially inevitably overwhelming. It is therefore crucial to intervene with appropriate strategies to support employees and help them navigate this challenging experience in a constructive way. But to explain what your employee is feeling during this divorce or separation situation, we need to broaden our perspective to fully understand the emotional spectrum that an individual goes through in such painful situations. Especially since the emotions experienced during a divorce don't just stay confined to the personal aspect. They spread, intertwine, and transform into a real emotional tangle, impacting every area of the individual's life, including their professional environment. Divorce is a deeply unsettling event, and the line between personal life and professional life becomes extremely blurred. What an employee experiences in their personal life affects their work, often in an invisible but nonetheless significant way. Emotions flow freely between these two worlds, influencing not only the mental and physical state of the employee, but also their interactions, performance, and engagement at work. So, an employee going through a divorce may find themselves bringing their emotions to the workplace, even without openly discussing it. It's inevitable. This emotional tension, often repressed, can manifest as frustration, irritability, or withdrawal. The stress related to separation can also lead to mental and physical fatigue, affecting concentration and the ability to make rational decisions. Moreover, the personal concerns related to this divorce or separation situation, such as managing children, financial issues, or legal proceedings, invade your employee's mind during work hours. This omnipresence of personal situations creates distractions and a sense of mental overload, making it difficult to distinguish between what is personal and what is professional. Let's take the experience of guilt in these situations when an employee feels responsible for the impact of the separation on their children, or when they blame themselves for failing in the relationship. It can make them doubt their choices and abilities, pushing them to question themselves irreparably and sometimes in an extremely excessive way. In the workplace, this self-doubt can manifest as a decrease in self-confidence, a lack of initiative, and difficulty in making clear and effective decisions. Guilt can also lead to a withdrawal pattern where the employee avoids participating in discussions or taking a stand in collective projects. If I now take the example of anger, which I assure you will be felt by everyone, whether it's the one who decides or the one who suffers, it will manifest as increased tensions at work, with conflicts with colleagues or unusual irritability. An angry employee may struggle to manage their emotions constructively, which can harm team harmony and the quality of interactions. Accumulated frustration can also lead to a feeling of injustice that will distort the perception of both professional and personal events, making it hard to focus on the goals to be achieved. A deep loss, not only of the union with a partner, but also of shared projects, the idea of a stable home or a family identity, will lead to sadness. And this sadness can be overwhelming and affect the employee's ability to fully engage in their work. When an employee goes through this difficult life experience, they will feel disconnected from their professional environment, feel a lack of energy. They will struggle to motivate themselves to complete their tasks. And productivity can be built upon, just like the ability to focus on short or medium-term goals. We could also mention anxiety and uncertainty, which are pervasive emotions during this time. The employee often finds themselves facing crucial decisions in a context that is extremely unclear. How to organize your new life, how to divide the assets, how to organize your family routine. All these uncertainties can create and will create a constant stress where every decision feels heavy with consequences. And in the professional sphere, this will translate into hesitation in decision-making, procrastination, or an inability to move forward on important projects. Anxiety can also affect time management by making it difficult to prioritize tasks and responsibilities. Your employee will definitely experience, the feeling of loss of control. At a certain point in the history of separation, he will feel as if everything is slipping away from him, like his choices no longer belong to him, or that his decisions are dictated by external circumstances. This feeling of loss of control can make the employee vulnerable, not only in their personal life, but also in their professional life. And this will result in a lack of clarity in their goals, difficulty managing priorities, and a compromised ability to make informed decisions, to the point where they may sometimes be unable to make such decisions. The stress associated with this feeling of chaos can affect both their overall well-being and their effectiveness and engagement at work. So, these emotions, whatever they may be, because we obviously haven't covered them all here today, don't stay confined to just one area of life. They intertwine, overlap, and influence not only the management of personal life, but also involvement and performance at work. Employees going through a divorce can find themselves in a complex and difficult emotional state, which will impact their ability to work optimally, interact positively with colleagues, and make informed decisions. The consequences of divorce silently seep into the workings of your company. And often they are ignored, underestimated, or even neglected. Yet, they are profound and have a direct and tangible impact on the organization's performance, team dynamics, and also something that is sometimes overlooked: talent retention. And if you had to list a few of these consequences, here are 6 main ones. The first undeniable point is the decrease in productivity. An employee going through a divorce, even if he remains physically present at work, is far from being fully operational. Their mind is constantly occupied with personal concerns, difficult decisions to make, conflicting emotions, and even an unmanageable emotional overload. This leads to a lack of concentration, which will translate for your organization into a drop in productivity that may often be imperceptible but costly in the long run. I remind you that the average duration of a divorce is 26 months when everything goes well. Tasks that once seemed simple will become obstacles for this employee. Mistakes will multiply and deadlines will be pushed back. The impact may seem marginal at first, but it eventually accumulates and weighs heavily on the team's and the company's results. The decrease in productivity for an employee going through a separation is currently estimated at 40% per year. The second is the emotional consequences of divorce, which will not be limited to visible declines in performance. They lead to more frequent absenteeism related to legal appointments, admin tasks, or when the employee is unable to work. This often underestimated issue disrupts workflow, disturbs teams, and delays projects. Long term, this absenteeism can destabilize the organization. This phenomenon, which is often underestimated, disrupts the workflow, disrupts teams, and causes delays in the projects created. And in the long run, this type of absenteeism can also destabilize the entire organization. Its cost is currently estimated at 23% of the employee's activity. We also need to mention the deterioration of communication and professional relationships. Indeed, the internal tensions caused by divorce directly affect how the employee interacts with their colleagues. Anger, sadness, anxiety, or even frustration can impair communication, leading to misunderstandings, open conflicts, or social withdrawal. Team spirit will weaken, and divisions will emerge where there used to be cohesion. This deterioration of professional relationships is not just an individual problem. It impacts the entire team and collective effectiveness. Its cost is now well documented and represents an additional drop in productivity of 19% per year.